In this episode, we speak with Jordan Taradash, co-founder and CEO of PeopleOne Health, which provides world-class healthcare that seamlessly blends treatment and prevention, leading to significant savings for employers and employees by keeping people healthier. Jordan oversees PeopleOne Health's executive team, steering the company's strategic vision, culture, and sales, as it advances as one of the fastest-growing leaders in value-based primary care. Previously, Jordan was the CEO of Innovative Wellness Solutions, one of the largest wellness companies in the United States. PeopleOne Health is one of the fastest-growing primary care providers, leading employers and thousands of members to trust PeopleOne Health and rate their customer satisfaction an excellent 90-plus NPS, exceeding the healthcare industry average of 35. I'm your host, RJ Lumba. We hope you enjoy the show. If you like the episode, click to follow.
RJ Lumba is the executive chairman of Market Insight Media and the managing partner of GrowthCap. He is the host of Great Entrepreneurs, a podcast for driven entrepreneurs and business owners. Our podcast covers all topics related to the entrepreneurial journey, from ideation to execution to optimization and to reaping the rewards of a well-run business. In the minutes ahead, we'll share with you unique insights and tactics from some of today's most accomplished and inspiring entrepreneurs.
Jordan, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today. It's a delight to be with you.
Likewise, RJ, thanks for having me.
So where I'd like to kick off is your journey to founding your own company. I mean, you've got a great background, technical background. So maybe tell us a little bit about how you got your start, maybe in where you focused academically, and then what led you to becoming an entrepreneur.
Yeah, sure thing. So I studied chronic disease epidemiology at the Graduate School of Public Health here in University of Pittsburgh. And the clinical research I did was taking the diabetes prevention program into Bayer Corporation and trying to use the work site as a rational setting to help to do the science of disease prevention, of public health science. Successful clinical trial had real impact on people's lives, saw that the work site was a really efficient way to deliver and communicate to groups of folks. I was just about to go on to do my PhD and realized I just didn't have the patience for NIH-funded research. So I did the exact opposite. I started a startup, right? So that was Innovative Wellness Solutions in 2012, which really kind of took that clinical research into the employer. I was really dedicated to disease prevention, kind of the heart and mission, working with the employers. I was fortunate enough, my first partner and advisor and actually outside investor, a gentleman named Chris Downey, he sold his first company to eBay pre-IPO, eBay's only pre-IPO acquisition, then started sparkpeople.com with the mission to spark millions of people to reach their goals in life. He and I merged our companies together in 2019. So we had this really powerful tech engagement engine and then coaching plus technology, disease prevention to the employer. RJ, it was a big celebration for about 4 minutes. And then I've got a finance background. I put my finance cap on. I said, I've got about 3 years before every CFO is going to fire us, because the timing and math of disease prevention doesn't line up well with the timing and math of employer-sponsored healthcare. They're on two different trajectories. So that was the key moment when we realized we needed to bring in primary care to create the clinical relationships and honestly the financial savings immediately that'll give us the time to really get to disease prevention. So in 2021, we merged in a company called Empower 3 Center for Health, which was really our primary care arm. And that's where PeopleOne Health really came to life in 2021, really merging those three companies together.
Fantastic. You know, what strikes me is that you're going to pursue a PhD, but then you quickly transitioned into becoming a leader of a company that's merged and then acquired. Did you feel prepared to do that? I mean, how were you able to kind of assume the mantle of CEO of these combined companies and feel that you were effectively leading this whole organization?
I'd say two ways. One, delusional optimism. Second is incredible partners and coaches. I mean, that one got me much farther than delusional optimism. But yeah, no, I wasn't, right? I was a young man out of graduate school. I'd never done any of these things. I had a mission, an idea, I had passion, but surrounding myself by incredible coaches. I'll call out Ned Renzi from ETW. He's for years has kind of from every stage as we've grown, put the challenges in front of me to say, here's the next bolus of skills you have to figure out if you want to keep going down this journey. So his compassion, his authentic caring, and his guidance really has been key to riding that ride along the entire way.
And to give our audience a little bit more color into, PeopleOne Health, like how big is the organization today? How has it been growing? I think you did a recent funding round and brought in a great partner.
Yeah, super grateful to have our partners at Google Ventures supporting kind of this really rapid stage of growth. We're over $20 million in ARR, 150 plus employees, 13 to 15,000 members who are caring for in our health ecosystem. And we're really riding a significant growth pathway. Florida school districts, municipalities are significant clients of ours, Orange County Public Schools, and then Pennsylvania. Those are our key markets right now. And then Georgia and Texas are kind of are next on the horizon.
So you're scaling quickly, and scaling is sometimes a stepwise function. You can run into this area where like your skills as the leader become outmatched, but you're seeming to keep pace. You have this coaching behind you. How do you approach this kind of rapid scale phase in terms of the leadership set and your role?
I think maybe two or three key areas. Number one, being humble at every step of the way, understanding that there is a level of confidence we have to bring to our execution every day, but also a level of we haven't been here before. So who are our authentic partners that can kind of help us avoid a bunch of mistakes that maybe they made previously?
Mhm.
So number one is certainly being humble. Number two is being somewhat rationally paranoid, right? Looking around the corners and being like, okay, this system is working now, but will it continue down that pathway? Will it break, or does it need to be completely replaced? And trying to anticipate that as best as possible before you're in the middle of that breaking scenario. So being humble, being rationally paranoid. And then number three, being laser focused. I think I'll speak for myself as an entrepreneur. We like shiny objects, all right? But like every step of the way as the company's gotten bigger, we've been able to narrow the focus and increase the velocity, which is one of the things Ned taught me. More and more, we really have to hyper focus.
That is a tough thing to do in the beginning stages when you have so many opportunities available and you're not yet so committed to one that you can't pursue the others. How have you been able to do that? Were there instances where you were really split 50-50 on to go one path or the other, but your gut told you one way and data can only take you so far? So have you been able to make sure you stay on the right course?
There have been significant pivot moments, right? So one of our team members, when she first came on, she was like, Jordan, when you started this 12, 13 years ago, did you have this vision of where this whole thing would land? And I was like, no, I had no idea that we would be where we are today. However, each step of the way, you kind of watch the signals, listen to the market. Your customers, your clients, and your members will tell you a whole lot. And if you do that, plus a little bit of your instinct and your gut, like you're alluding to, RJ, you can continuously kind of move. And the mission has never changed, right? This is to restore rationality and humanity to healthcare and giving folks the chance to reach their life's goals. So the mission has never changed. The nuances of kind of what's going to get us there has really been the guiding light of making sure we keep moving in the right direction.
There's tough moments when you're building a company, and sometimes it's not clear exactly where you should be headed, what you should be focusing your time on. And then certain people in your organization may get frustrated with maybe the lack of clarity, lack of predictability. How have you kind of approached culture and leadership and people management? And has your approach changed over time?
It has, right? So merging three companies together in itself was a monstrous challenge of bringing cultures together and aligning on mission and direction. So, they're saying, right, culture eats strategy for breakfast. I'd like to say we eat culture and strategy for breakfast because I think you need both, right? So we have a relentless focus on culture. That, along with our mission, has never changed. Our mantra is very simple, RJ: care for yourself, care for each other, and care for our members, right? And so we are charging and authorizing and supporting our folks to literally care for themselves first before our customers and our members, because when they do that, they end up taking exceptional care of their workmates and of our members. That has played out. We will never deviate from that. What has changed is kind of going from this 5 folks in a room and it's collaborative and democratic and we're all kind of in it too. We have to be a little bit more structured and a little bit more like, let's disagree and then commit because, we got to choose a direction and we got to go. But if the culture supports that we truly trust each other, we will have the forum to disagree. And then even though if we do, we will commit to the direction together.
I'm curious, did you show signs of entrepreneurship when you were growing up?
I think my most successful business to date so I grew up on Long Island, and my father had a men's clothing store, a haberdashery in Astoria, Queens. And it just so happened that the socioeconomic status of the kids on Long Island was higher than the folks kind of in Queens. So they'd always be one gaming system kind of behind, right? You'd be Super Nintendo on Long Island, but still Atari, right, in the store. So what I would do is when all those kids got their new gaming system on Long Island, they didn't care about those games. So I'd buy them for pennies on the dollar. And then I'd go to my dad's store and I'd set up a table and I'd sell that older generation of games to that. So I arbitrage there. And then also in middle school, when Costco and Price Club first came out, I would buy huge boxes of candy and I ran a little store out of my locker and sold some candy out of my locker.
That's awesome. So back to the investor part, because investors are such a key part to scaling a company, especially when it's in this rapid growth phase. Can you tell us a little bit about the value that investors have brought to you, aside from the financial capital?
Yeah. Going back to one topic we started before, which was helping us anticipate mistakes that have been made many times before, right? So our funding and capital partners are very familiar, deep, and seasoned in healthcare. These folks are really healthcare investors. So they've seen this show before. They've seen the errors that have been made. So they're great guidance partners in kind of avoiding some of those errors. Number two, of course, is connections and network, right? We're disrupting a $5 trillion industry here, and that industry will not go quietly into the night. So you need some significant partnerships, both inside the current system and outside, to help ensure that we have the infrastructure and the partnerships to really do this thing at scale. Relationships have been crucial. And then a fundamental kind of alignment on mission. So disrupting healthcare will not be a 3 to 5 year endeavor, right? This is going to be a 10, 12, 13-year kind of mission. And we need that alignment of a long-term orientation. And we've been super fortunate to have partners who are willing to make that sacrifice to really ride the ride to make that disruption in healthcare.
What's been the most challenging aspect to scaling?
The most challenging aspect, continuously being delusionally optimistic. And I think as CEOs and founders of startups, we hear no constantly. We hear you're out of your mind, you're crazy and whatnot. And each step of the journey has the ability, I'll say for myself, for imposter syndrome to kind of eke its way in to be like, are you really know what you're doing? And do you deserve to really kind of shepherd this? And it takes a whole lot of self-care, to go back to our mantra, and taking care of my physical and emotional well-being to ensure that I can wake up every day with that delusional optimism.
Yeah. Did you ever imagine, because there is a lot of rejection, right, in the journey, did you ever imagine that you would secure a funding round from Google Ventures?
No, I did not. Once we were there, looking back, it all makes sense. But no, I never thought that would happen.
At what point did you realize like you had solid product market fit?
So let's go back, right? This company, although Innovative Wellness Solutions started 13 years ago, Spark People was almost 20, Empower 3, 12 years ago. PeopleOne Health, this kind of unified platform, is only 4 years old. And 2 weeks before we merged the companies, we pitched to a statewide benefit trust fund with 250,000 members, right? So we hadn't even really had the time to fine tune our pitch and to really be polished in what we were doing. And that value proposition immediately landed. So that was our first instinct. And then that's when we doubled down and started seeing employers adopting what we were doing. And then Orange County Public Schools, honestly, RJ, the 9th largest school district in the country, saying this is the pathway to transform primary care in our healthcare plan. That was the strongest signal of product market fit I think that we've had recently.
Mm-hmm. Now, back to scaling, when you're looking to hire folks, is there one or two key things you're looking for in each candidate?
Culture fit is always first. We have the smartest folks in the healthcare industry humbly sitting around the table. physically or virtually every single day. Our problem will never be that we don't have the right talent. Our folks are brilliant. They're visionaries. The challenge will be our belief is that our first and most important role as leaders every day is to guide the emotions of those we lead in a positive direction. It is harnessing that psychic and physical and emotional energy of our team and guiding them that way. So number one, we have to have leaders who believe in that positive leadership and harnessing and guiding those folks' energy. Second is, there's this conundrum about where we need certain key skill sets for healthcare, but you also don't want to have too much head trauma from the traditional healthcare system, because bleeding that into our ecosystem, kind of the traditional way that healthcare does it, could be a trap for us. Although it may feel comfortable, this person has 30 years experience in that. It could be a trap for us to get caught down some of the bad habits that the traditional healthcare system is. So sometimes taking risks on folks with an entrepreneurial vision of their own who don't have such deep experience in traditional healthcare.
Interesting. I like to ask this question, like, what's been your hit rate on hiring?
8 or 9 out of 10. We're 80 to 90%.
That's the highest yet. That's great. That's amazing. Okay. And how do you spend your time? Like, how do you divide it up between the different things on your plate?
I'm super privileged. I have an incredible president in Dean Hatcher. He scaled a similar business from 7 locations to 350. So from an operational scale perspective, we've got a hero. We also just recently brought on a growth leader, Ty Arlint. He's 3 times over kind of taken over from founder-led sales and build scalable growth organizations. So right now I'm in an incredibly privileged position where I'm focused on strategic vision, large strategic deals, culture, and then supporting Dean and Ty and the rest of the team on that end. So, probably 50% of my time on strategic vision, large strategic deals, a quarter of my time on culture, and then a quarter of the time just like kind of down in the weeds, making sure I'm helping give my folks everything they need.
And how did you find your key folks? Was it a network of folks Is it through referral? And I ask because I've been recently talking to different people about how they do hiring. Sometimes it's for their portfolio companies, but it's also sometimes for they themselves.
It's been a whole lot of network. So key leaders who we brought on or key partners who know individuals that kind of really match mission and cultural fit.
Okay, got it. I have 2 final questions. Before I head there, I'd like to ask, what's the best advice you could give another entrepreneur that's in the growth phase of their business?
You need a coach, somebody who's been there before, coached multiple other entrepreneurs and CEOs. They will push you, they will care for you, and they will help you avoid a whole lot of mistakes. And they will also pick you up by your bootstraps when imposter syndrome sneaks its way in. That's for sure, number one. Number 2 is stick with your delusional optimism, right? It should feel like this. By definition, what we are doing, no one has done before. So it should feel like it does, but believe in yourself that you have it within you to hit those goals and keep going. You wouldn't have made it this far if not.
Excellent. Okay, final 2 questions. One is, can you tell us about a person who has had a profound influence on you?
Oh, have to choose one. I'd say my mother. She was a health and fitness and phys ed teacher in the New York City Public School District for 31 years. Kind of came up during the early days of the HIV epidemic and got my passion for public health and caring for others by really watching her advocacy and the work that she's done. And that's really kind of my heart and soul. The finance stuff came from somewhere else, but my heart and soul really came from watching my mother's work.
Excellent. Charity, cause, or other endeavor that you're passionate about?
And veteran debt. And I think that might actually be the name. So it is a fundamental tragedy that the number one cause of bankruptcy in this country is medical debt. It is a further tragedy that our veterans would be exposed to bankruptcy through medical debt. So let's go change that together.
That's awesome. And we'll include a link to that organization in our show notes. Well, Jordan, I want to thank you so much for taking the time. This has been a great conversation.
Thanks for having me, RJ.